Ready, sir?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. This is 2014 Brown Family Reunion. I'd like to know your name first of all.
My name is Bertha Brown Williams.
Bertha Brown Williams. Okay. And everyone here at the reunion comes from Robert and Sally Brown, and then their children. Where do you fall in line there? With Robert and Sally Brown, is your grandfather is?
My grandfather was George Brown, which was Sally and Robert Brown's oldest son.
Okay.
Now, you talking about Sally Golf Brown.
Okay.
You know her name was Golf.
Sally Golf Brown.
Sally Golf married Robert Brown.
Okay.
And her parents, she had a mother named Margaret and a father named Harrison. Sally Brown did.
Okay, Sally Golf Brown's parents. Okay. And where was she from? Do you know?
I don't know where she was from.
Okay. Robert was from, was he born?
In Mississippi.
Okay.
He was from Mississippi.
Okay. And our family ended up, as far back as I know, was M.L.
It was M.L. Alabama, Sumter County. Is that Sumter County?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And then so Robert Brown, and then you said your father was?
My father is Elijah Brown, which is George Brown's son.
Okay.
George Brown was Sally and Robert Brown's son.
Okay. Okay. And then your father was Elijah.
My father's Elijah Brown.
Okay. Okay. Now you don't live here in Alabama.
I live in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. Is that where you've always lived?
No, I was born in Birmingham. My parents moved to Cleveland in 1948.
Okay.
I had just turned 9 years old.
Okay. Is there, well, a couple questions. One, since we've resumed the family reunion here in Birmingham, that's been about 6 years, but prior to that it used to be in Sumter County.
In ML.
In ML.
Yes, in that big house that Robert and Sally owned. That set up there in the big house. And we used to go there on a Sunday in the family reunion, and we used to sit in the window and look all the way across the land, all the way across. And the house, and the paper in the house was a newspaper. And I remember looking at one time, it had the comic strip from 1929. That was the wallpaper.
The wallpaper was the comic strips from 1929.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've been to the house that Robert and Sally owned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, I don't remember
Okay.
that house.
Down the hill lived the twins, Tom and Jim.
Okay, okay. Jim was my great grandfather.
Okay.
Okay, so they lived down the hill.
Right.
Okay, and I remember where Tom Brown
They're right close to him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. So I didn't know that. So they had family reunions then?
They had it every fourth Sunday in July.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
And people come from all over and bring baskets of food.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Robert and Sally would have been your grandparents.
Great grandparents.
Great grandparents, right? Okay. You met them? You
No,
okay.
no. And Sally died in 1926 and Robert died in 1936, I think it was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm not sure of that, but I'm pretty sure it was 1936.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you remember the house?
I remember the house.
Did anyone live there after that, or was that just kind of like a family home for the?
And that was, I can't remember if there were people in it. I just remember the last time I'd taken my dad down, which was Elijah Brown. And I didn't even get out of the car because had grew up so, weeds and trees had grown up so, and Daddy came in the car and cried. Yes.
Because of the condition of the
Because of the condition. Because it was all grown up. And, that was home for him. That was home. But, they all had, Grandpa Robert had all this 600 acres of land. And in some kind of way, it kind of got out of his hand like most Negroes did. And all his children had to live on that land. So they did not move off of their land. Because I remember going down as a little bitty child, and my mom and dad showed me where they lived when they first got married. They had to live on their grandfather's land.
So
that's where this land comes in now.
Right.
Some of it, all that did not get away.
Right. Is there, as far as your memory, the Brown family, is there anybody that comes to mind when you think about what the name means? Someone that just had an influence?
You mean where Grandpa Robert gets his name from?
No, any Browns.
Oh,
Is there anyone that
I know the one. I think Grandpa Robert's mother name was Ann. I think her name was Ann.
Okay. Okay.
But the ones that stick out the most really are the twins, Tom and Jim.
Okay.
Because they were so much alike.
Really?
And those are my granddaddy's brothers.
Okay.
Was Tom and Jim and Lil Annie and Big Annie, which was Lillian and Margaret.
Right.
They never had children.
Right.
Lillian and Margaret. They didn't have children, but we would always go to their house. As a matter of fact, Big Annie lived across the street from your daddy.
My grandfather.
From Ena.
Right.
Yeah, okay, from Ena. Yeah, from your grandfather.
Right.
He lived across the street from there. That's where she lived.
Okay.
And Enoch, because Pauline lived in the house where your granddad lived. I remember when they first got that house built.
Right. Okay.
And then they moved to Pittsburgh, and then when Daddy and Mama went to Cleveland, they moved to Cleveland. And then Enoch moved in the house. Enoch and Fannie Mae. That's your grandparents, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Right. But then Pauline lived there first.
Yes, but she had the house built.
Okay.
She had the house built, and when Galop was in the service, she and I and my Aunt Poe, which is Bertha, we went looking for the land. And there was another lady there, her name was Lean Ford, and her husband, and we went looking for the land, and we found the land. And then when Colump got out of service, Pauline built the house right here where your grandparents lived, and the Fords moved right here on the other corner.
Okay.
And then, but Big Annie lived across the street. Lillian Hutchison, she lived across the street.
Okay. Okay. And so did you get out a lot with your father to visit? Is that, because a lot of people say that you know a lot of the history about the family?
I know it because my daddy told me.
Okay.
My daddy and I were really tight.
Okay.
And what happened was, before I was 2 years old, I got burned real bad. And so, and my mom nursed the burn, but my dad always made sure I could walk.
Okay.
And when I got older, he said, you know what, sister, I always prayed that you could walk. And I did, and play like other children. And I did. I won track meets and everything because of my dad's prayer. And my dad used to rub my leg all the time until I got to be a big little girl, and then he stopped rubbing my leg. And so my dad died in 1993. And my leg is so healed. And we lived in Birmingham then, and they didn't allow little black children in the hospitals. So when my dad died, I was in the hospital for about 11 to 18 days because of this burn. It came back. And so when I went home from the hospital, the nurse said to me, she said, you know what? Your burn heals so good, because the breakout came in the bottom of my leg, but I got burned from my thigh all the way down my leg. And I said, you know what, my daddy used to rub my leg until I got to be a big little girl, and then he stopped rubbing. And so she came back to see me, the nurse did, and she said, you know, I told my doctor about how well your leg the skin had healed, and I told her the story about your dad rubbing. She said, that's why it healed so. because her dad rubbed it. And he rubbed my leg, and he rubbed my leg. And he told me, he said, I thought you would never walk around like other children, and I prayed that you would. So that's how my dad and I became so close. And he always talked about his grandma Sally and his grandpa Robert and all the children. And he talked about Early and Eddie and Enoch and Pauline and Christiana and Shorty. He talked about all his first cousins because they all had to live on the land. And they were all raised together on the land. They could go no further than with the Browns' land. And all Grandpa Robert's children, their children and children had to live on the land in ML. Okay. That's how come I know all the children's name and their children and their children. Because Daddy always told me. And especially like when I would bring him down to Alabama in the summer, and from the time we leave home in Cleveland, he would always tell me stories about Grandpa Robert and Grandma Sally. Okay.